Gremlins was directed by Joe Dante, and it was released in 1984, and it was a big hit, a big horror comedy, and it basically tells the story of a father who decides to buy a present for his son for Christmas, basically, and he comes across this really great and fascinating creature known as a mogwai, and he takes it home and keeps it as he buys it and takes it to his son and stuff like that. And there are 3 rules in order to, and they have to follow these 3 particular rules in order to take care of this little creature. One is to not get it wet because it might multiply. 2 is to not observe the creature to any kind of light because it might kill it. And 3 is to never feed it after midnight. And however, all of these rules are basically broken, and it causes the mogwai known as Gizmo to multiply into, which spreads other mogwais, and they turn into this these mischievous, clever but dangerous gremlins, and they attack the city on Christmas Eve. I remember when I first heard of this movie, Gremlins. When I was a little kid, I've never heard of movies like this. The first time I've heard of this movie was when my uncle showed me the trailer and stuff like that, and I was all like, whoa, this is going to be a very scary movie. I watched this movie like maybe last year, and I realized this is not a very scary movie. It's not scary at all. As a matter of fact, this isn't even a straight up horror film. It's more of a comedy. It's more of a horror comedy. There's more things you can find very interesting and entertaining about this film than you will scary. And yes, I can see like maybe a 4-year-old getting scared by this movie. And when I say 4-year-old, this movie is literally rated PG. But I didn't see Gremlins as a kid. I saw it as a teenager and stuff like that. I thought it was going to be like this straight up horror thing. But this movie really surprised me. This is a really effective horror Christmas comedy movie. It's really effective in so many ways. It's a huge classic in so many different levels. And it also gives audiences messages on how you should or shouldn't take care of things, including pets. And I'm going to be honest, when I first did hear about Gremlins, I thought it was going to be this straight up horror movie. I was completely wrong. This is more than just a horror comedy. It's a very special Christmas movie. It's so entertaining, not really that scary, but it's very entertaining. And each scene, the characters are very interesting. The Gremlins themselves aren't necessarily scary, but they're very interesting, and they're funny though. They're very funny. And when I first saw Gremlins, I was very surprised on the storyline in this movie. The storyline is very effective and clever in this movie. Now let's talk about the character Billy, played by Zach Galligan. Very great acting in this movie. This is definitely one of the greatest Christmas movies ever. I have never in my life of any movie seen a movie. I've never in my life seen any horror movie that was actually that funny. And this movie isn't just funny, but it has a clever storyline. It's more entertaining than scary. It's not really that scary. It could only be scary to like little children, but to bigger kids and teenagers and adults, it's not really that scary. But it is very entertaining. It's a watchable film. You can keep on watching this over and over and over again, and it never gets boring, actually. Now listen, if you're a fan of horror movies, which I am, and you want to see stuff like gore and stuff like that, and a lot of deaths and kills and stuff like that, like I mentioned, this is a horror comedy, but you're not going to really get all that stuff out of Gremlins. It is a very entertaining movie. Not scary at all to me, but it's very entertaining. It's fun to watch. However, if you are a fan of Steven Spielberg movies, and if you've never even heard or seen Gremlins, then this is the movie for you. Now let's talk about the animatronics in this movie that they used for the Gremlins. These are very stellar animatronics. Today, some people would say these things look fake, but back then, it did work. They kind of did look real back then. But today, some people would think they're fake. For a great example of a monster in a horror movie that looks so more realistic than a gremlin is the xenomorph from Alien. This could be somewhat close to that. Now today, if they remade Gremlins today, in the modern day, they would probably use CGI effects and stuff like that. And for the most part, it would work for audiences. But however, if the old fans, it really depends on how they would respond. And I would really love to see them remake this movie. I would definitely love to see them do that. I did love this movie a lot, but I did have a little issue with this movie, basically. I literally only had one issue with this movie. My issue with this movie is basically that sometimes they would show the Gremlins too much, and like in one certain scene, like they would just be wacky and stuff like that, and I don't know why. I think that could have been a scene that could have been left out of the movie, and they could have just kept going and stuff like that. But which isn't really a big issue for me. It's just like something that I didn't really like. But it's not a big issue. The rest of this movie is fantastic. It's amazing. Another thing that I really loved and appreciated about Gremlins is it feels like when you're watching this movie, it feels like you're back into the 80s. This movie doesn't feel like a modern day movie. It actually feels like a movie you would see in the 1980s, considering that this movie came out in 84. So this is actually a movie that you could watch and feel, wow, I feel like I'm in the 1980s right now. This is insane. And the characterization and like the dialogue and stuff like that, it just fits perfectly and stuff like that. And the suspense that they added in this movie and the entertainment and stuff like that and the comedy, you can't get enough of this movie. It's just a Christmas movie that you have to watch. It's definitely a must-see horror comedy and one of the best ones out there in my opinion. Now guys, if you haven't even seen Gremlins, but if you plan on watching it, I recommend it. And I don't want you to watch this movie and be upset and think that this is going to be a straight up horror movie. This is more than just a horror comedy. It's a very fun Christmas movie, and it's something that you can watch year to year to year, and it gets really better over time. Gremlins is a movie that actually has gotten better with age, for some people at least. And it will continue to do that to inspire many generations. But seriously, I don't want you to think that this is just a straight up horror comedy movie. I don't want you to get upset about the things that are gonna happen in this movie that you didn't find interesting. There are a good amount of suspense, but like I said, this movie is way more entertaining. It focuses on more of the comedy than the horror itself. But when it focuses on the suspense, that's really fun too. But you guys, I'll have to say that, what can I say that hasn't been said already? Gremlins is an 80s Christmas horror comedy classic in so many different levels. It's one of everyone's favorites, one of my personal favorites, including. It's a movie that I will share with my friends as I continue to grow up. I will share it with everyone and tell them it's a classic, and it will be one of my favorite movies of all time. Still to this day, this movie is fantastic. Even though I haven't seen this in the 80s because I obviously wasn't around back in 1984, but still, this is a must-see Christmas movie, and if you haven't seen it, definitely check this movie out, along with other movies that are coming at that you should watch this holiday and stuff like that of 2017 before the year ends. I'm gonna give Gremlins a B. Thank you guys so much for showing me support to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching my movie review of Gremlins. I wanted to do this so bad. I wanted to do this movie review actually a couple months ago during Horror Movie Month, but I decided I should do it on Christmas, near Christmas, because it's the Christmas movie and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm so glad I got to review this movie. Look forward to my review of The Nightmare Before Christmas, as well as The Godfather, and hopefully a little more Christmas movies and stuff like that. And then on January, I have some surprise movie reviews for you. On January, I'm going to review movies from my childhood, like animated movies and stuff like that. I can't wait to review those and stuff like that. And just stay tuned for more movie reviews and more content that I make and stuff like that, as well as my series, The Super Mario Bros. Show. You guys have shown me so much support on that series, by the way. Thank you so much. My reaction videos and my gameplay videos and stuff like that. Just thank you guys so much for tuning into my content. You guys are the best. I love every single one of you. And as always, I am Mario Fan 520, and I will see you next time. Peace out.